Hi, everybody, and welcome back to WatchHaus. It has been another amazing week full of Overwatch. The three of us have had a lot going on in our lives, as some of you may know who follow us on Twitter, but all in all, this week has been, in one word, entertaining. So we're excited. The past few weeks, we've been quite serious with our news, so finally we're going back to our roots, going to have a bit more fun tonight. So let's start by just resetting our watches once more, and Goopy, how have you been this week? What have you been up to?
I've been good. It's just been, like you said, it's been an entertaining week. It's been weird. Twitter's just been a weird place. It's a weird ecosystem these days. And Discord's kind of the same way. But I've been good. I've been doing a little bit of writing. I did a top 5 free agent prospects from BlizzCon article that was real fun. ESPN just released theirs today. It was pretty similar. So, they just looked at my list and basically made theirs. I understand. It's kind of the industry standard. So that's no big deal. But then today, so there's Spotify playlists for all the Overwatch heroes that are pretty cool. They try and reflect the essence of the hero or whatever. And Bob's and Ash's both came out today, and they're incredible. They're Creole, ragtime. Ash's is real intense, Southern Creole music, and then Bob's is just goofy ragtime, and they're hilarious.
Oh.
And then RCK going to Dallas Breaking Peace. So that was the 3 from this past week for me. Fun times.
Nice. And what about you, Thibble? What have you been up to?
So what was the word you used to describe this week's news so far?
Gosh, I'm sure you could think of much better ones than me.
I think it was interesting.
Entertaining.
Which I don't think is intense enough to describe the week we've had. Boy, howdy. Much like the other two here, my writing has been a little on the slower side. Well, Connor published 3 pieces. What am I saying? I published, let's see. I started a new series. It's called Brother versus Brother, or Brother Against Brother. It's about teams of old whose players are now pitted against one another in the Overwatch League. The first one I did was Meta Athena, which is one of the most prolific examples. If leaks are to be believed, players from Meta Athena are currently on 7 different Overwatch League teams, all playing against one another. As it stands, without leaks, there are 5. But even that is crazy, and we're going to see a lot of those matchups pop up in big ways next season. So hang tight for more on that. It's still in development. I kind of gave a first prototype episode article, and Reddit was like, this looks like a prototype article that isn't finished yet. And I go, well, yeah, you're right. And then the next article I posted, we'll get to in a bit. That's discussing some of the more interesting news we've had this week. Otherwise, it was my anniversary, so I went and ate a lot of Italian food, and
awesome.
That was that. So, yay.
That's so romantic. So my week has been probably one of the biggest weeks of my entire life. So Wednesday I found out I would be driving from Chicago to Los Angeles to start the next stage of my life in my new apartment now. It's pretty crazy. So it's been very nonstop this entire week ever since WatchHaus ended last week. I've just either been on the road putting together IKEA furniture, go IKEA, or just panicking. So it's been the biggest week.
Sounds pretty normal for you.
Yeah, it's pretty normal. Just be nervous. But no, I'm excited to announce I will be casting and hosting South American Contenders, and I have finally signed my life away and will be working as an analyst for esports and gaming companies this coming December. So
big things.
But I remember when we were discussing last week our BlizzCon episode, talking about that with Dustin. I said that I was going to take it kind of easy on you guys. I remember we were talking about punishments for your hubris, thinking about the United States winning the entire BlizzCon, which they didn't. So I decided, you know what, karaoke seems a bit too mean. I have something way better up my sleeves. So you know how
what did
you know how
do?
So you know how Ash's ultimate is to bring down Bob, and he just lets loose on all of the enemies.
Yeah.
You have Bob?
Vowels, do something.
No.
Hello, Goopy.
No.
Oh, it's so
We have some
evil.
business to discuss.
Oh gosh, the big guns are in, boys. I'm ready for today.
I believe
helpless.
you've done this.
So Vowels, before we go into any of these big breaking news stories of this week, I'd just like to talk a little bit about what happened at BlizzCon. Let's start by talking about the United States versus your home nation of the United Kingdom.
I still don't entirely comprehend what happened. I'll be honest. I'd written this off. I'd kind of accepted all the talk about USA's BlizzCon starts in the semifinals against South Korea. All the whatever everyone was chatting on Twitter, and then that happened. It was actually really horrible for me, I'll be honest, because I was on my train back to Manchester, where I live, from spending the weekend at home with my parents. I wasn't able to get an early enough train to catch BlizzCon here. So I was watching with phone internet on the train, catching every third fight, and just occasionally checking Twitter and Discord to see if anyone's losing their minds. But I've watched the VOD at least 4 times since then to make up for it, so we're all good.
Wow.
And as our viewers do know, you are famed for your love of a certain nation. Is there anything you would like to tell Goopy and Thibble before we do move on to our couple next topics?
Please be gentle.
Yeah, come on, man. The past is the past.
I don't think it's any surprise that I am literally Mr. China Overwatch. I expected China to do well, unlike the UK. I didn't think they'd do as well as they can, but it's gotta take the victories where you can, and this was a pretty major victory. With the UK, it's hard to. It's very different feelings. The UK is very much just kind of, what were you saying? What was that again? I can't hear you. Whereas China, I think no one was actively dismissing China, just didn't really know what to expect. So I'm glad the region finally got to prove itself. And if you want to see more action, come check out Contenders China starting this weekend on Broadcast GG.
And Vowels will actually be an analyst for Contenders China. I cannot think of anyone better to do that. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited to watch you. But let's actually talk a little bit about Contenders China. So Vowels, I know that you're pretty much the human Wikipedia. Know a lot about what is going on with all of these rosters. However, Chinese Contenders has been a little bit of an adventure this offseason.
So Chinese Contenders is very much in upheaval at the moment. There's hell of a lot of roster turnover. We've only actually had 4 Contenders rosters officially announced, maybe 5 off the top of my head, and most of them have maybe 2, maybe 3 players in command from last season. There's a lot of players moving around. There's a lot of new talent coming through. So we're starting to piece together of, okay, so who's staying, who's moving to maybe a better team, who's having to prove himself on a worse team, and who's making the jump up to the Overwatch League. A great example is Lingan Esports. Their off-tank, formerly known as Ninja, played in the last season of Contenders as Rapunzel, now goes by Elsa, is mysteriously missing and doesn't seem to be rumored to any other Contenders team. It's looking like they're going to be the new starting off-tank for Chengdu. So it's going to be interesting over this week. Once we know what all the rosters are, once we know who's settled where and who's changed their names to what, we'll start to be able to piece together who's actually on the Overwatch League teams as well before some of those announcements come out. And that's going to be really exciting.
Yeah. Have you seen like an influx since the World Cup of like more people paying attention to Chinese Contenders, or is it still kind of tough because it hasn't really started? Like, what do you think?
I got about 60 new Twitter followers in the space of a weekend, so there's got to be some kind of new interest there.
Yeah. That's it.
Shout out Halo of Thoughts. Some people might discredit him because he takes part in the league game, whatever. He's a cool dude. But as soon as he mentioned, hey, at Vowels GG knows a lot about China, notifications were flooded. So I gotta appreciate it, and hopefully I can live up to the hype. I'm not going to stop talking about it, at least.
We know.
All right, so let's keep you two nice this evening, okay?
I'm being nice.
Vowels, are you going to be nice to Thibble?
I plead the fifth.
All right, boys.
Wow.
This is going to be a long night. So, Thibble, was there anything about contenders? I think there was a specific team that you were curious about.
Well, there are a couple. I'm following more of the, I don't want to say standard contenders scenes because that's not very nice, and really all of them should get attention. But I've been following North America and Europe, and both of those regions are getting ready. They're in a weird spot too. We don't really know too much about rosters. Players are leaving for better opportunities, or whatever that means, and that leaves some holes in a variety of rosters. And then other rosters are like, look, we have a full roster, but do they really? Whatever. We'll find out next week because I think that's when everything gets started. Team Giganti in Europe just announced their roster, and it looks really good.
Really good.
It's got Zappis and Zupe from Florida Mayhem, and like some of the best European talent. So Giganti, I expect to do very well, hopefully next season in Europe. With Eagle Gaming, destroyed, and the Copenhagen Flames, who took those guys, also destroyed. That should be an interesting power vacuum to fill. In North America, Goats has rebranded to First Generation. They have some very cool graphics, but far less meme potential. So I'm kind of on the fence about that. They've had their last ride, it would seem, as Goats. So now everybody has to call it First Gen Comp. It doesn't really flow off the tongue as well, but
that's not going to happen.
No.
Do what you got to do, make it work. I don't know anything about the roster there. Nomi from the San Francisco Shock had recently joined that team. I don't think he's gone anywhere, so that should be something to keep an eye on. Looks good for them. And then we're starting next week, so I'll be writing up some preview articles to talk about like who's going where and whenever we find out about that. But we don't know too much yet, so stay tuned. Contenders is happening.
Yeah, Contenders is going to be absolutely brilliant this season. I can feel it. I'm so excited to especially pay attention to South America Contenders. Brazilian Gaming House is going to be definitely the team that I will have to watch. But before we move on to some more, I guess, traditional WatchHaus content, we don't even have to get away from the news to talk about memes. This week has been pretty interesting in terms of social media presence and etiquette and professionalism. And I don't know, Thibble. I think you wrote an article about it that summarized the issue pretty well.
I certainly did. Let me link it right now.
But long story short, Toronto Esports, Boston Uprising's academy team has had a tumultuous week, to say the least. And today, they have decided to leave Overwatch, apparently. But there was a lot of buildup before this. So, Thibble, do you want to kind of give some context?
It was technically last night that they said literally good riddance to Overwatch as an esport in general. This has kind of been a couple weeks in the making now. Since a little bit before Halloween and then Halloween itself, Toronto Esports, the now former Boston Uprising Academy team, put out a challenge for a show match against the Toronto Defiant for like best team in Toronto, haha, friendly banter or whatever. The thing is about friendly show match requests is that either they go, sure, let's do it, or they never respond and you just let it go. That's like
sounds like my personal life.
Oh, ouch. Hashtag get Katrina a date. Yeah. Anyway, so the latter was chosen. There was no response from the Toronto Defiant because they're still like building their roster and like making sure they haven't just wasted $65 million or however much they spent. So they're a little busy. They didn't respond to that. And Toronto Esports kept pushing the point, kept saying, hey, tapping on the glass, right? And they started making comparisons to UFC and like arguing with fans who were like, why are you still asking? Just let it go. And they were like, no, that's not going to happen. And then a couple people were like calling them out indirectly and being like, this is kind of weird. This isn't how this is done in like social media land. And they started fighting and got in a bunch of Twitter arguments, which was very entertaining. I had a big old bowl of popcorn and I was just sitting, just going at it. It was great. It turns out the guy who runs the Twitter account is also the guy who owns the team and provides financial support and housing for those players, or did anyway. And he called the social media manager for the London Spitfire a coward. He alluded that Cloud9 was a smaller, non-competing organization in esports, which was honestly probably the most obscure and weird thing that was said all weekend, because, like what? Proceeded to get in lots of fights on Twitter and Discord and everything. And then the Toronto Defiant finally said something to Blizzard, not about the fighting, because they don't care about that, whatever. They said, hey, we're the Toronto team. The Toronto team. We don't need a show match to prove that. We gave you lots of money. Can we make sure that we have exclusive naming rights to the city of Toronto? Blizzard said, sure. You just gave us a lot of money. What are we going to do? Tell you no? So they gave Toronto Esports 6 weeks to rebrand and change their name and continue operations otherwise as normal. They did not like this. They said, we're out. See you, losers. And pulled everything. I don't know what that means yet. Nobody does. Not even the Boston Uprising. So they're figuring that out right now. And we are left with a mess. Just a mess. It's been very entertaining, but I also kind of feel bad for the players who now have to relocate. I feel bad for IOStucks, who we had on this show not even 2 weeks ago, who was flying to Toronto soon to go live with his team that he is now coaching. He will have to find a new place to stay. It's just a mess.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's bizarre. What a weird thing, just in general.
Yeah, I think this leaves kind of some head scratching when you look at the relationship between Overwatch League teams and their academy teams. Whether this is something that is going to be across the board, where the academy team kind of has this much free reign, or whether they're more intimately linked to their Overwatch League team. I think Huck tweeted once about it, but we haven't seen much else from Boston. So I think that'll be the thing moving forward that's really telling about the situation is, how does Boston take care of the players? How does Boston take care of IOStucks? Because to me, it's on them. It's not on this Toronto esports like club thing that is a meme now. It's on Boston to take care of their academy players and their coaches and their staff. So with Boston's kind of recent stuff, I think they're going to be even more, and probably should be even more, under the microscope now to see how they handle this situation and how they, again, step up and take care of their people. So that'll be the interesting thing for me moving forward, for sure.
And Vowels, being from the UK, you are an expert in banter. How would you grade the medical doctor's skills?
I am impressed more than anything. I'm impressed we found someone in the Overwatch League scene who has a bigger ego than Fibble, for one. I'm impressed we've got someone who makes Huck look like... I'm impressed we've found someone who makes Huck look like he knows how to take care of players.
Yep.
I don't think there's anything you can say. It's been impressessly bad. I don't understand how Boston, sure, even if it was just a hands-off, we don't actually owe them. It's just an agreement for them to be an academy team. They're still your academy team. What Toronto Esports does is still representative of the Boston brand, and I don't understand how they let it drag on for 2-3 days before something actually happened. And it wasn't till Blizzard kicked Toronto out of Tier 2 that Boston have finally said something. So I don't understand how we even let it get to this point, I'll be honest.
Yeah.
And a clarifying point, clerically, I guess, is that Boston still has all of the, now we'll just call them Boston Academy players on contract. So it's not like they've lost their jobs. The thing that Toronto Esports, or Dr. Ryan Pallett, provided for the team specifically was a team house and other financial support. He was basically just a wallet, right? But losing that is still pretty bad. At the very least, the team will keep playing together, as far as I'm aware, unless anybody gets picked up by someone else, which is a total possibility. They've lost a lot of players already, although that window is closing quickly. So they just need to find someone else with money to provide a house and things of that nature. Is all.
And again, it does raise questions about what we need to be doing, not just Blizzard, but what the Overwatch scene in general needs to be doing to protect players, not just in the Overwatch League, but in Tier 2 or Tier 3, who are literally just getting by on pennies that they get from their wins, maybe get to an academy team if they're lucky and have to put up with stuff like this, or GGEA. What is the Overwatch scene going to do to actually protect these players on their path to pro and help them get to the Overwatch League and follow their dream? Because the fact that we've had repeated instances like this, and there's so much shady stuff going in the background that doesn't see the light of day, but we've all heard rumors about, I don't understand how, as a scene, we've let it get this far again. It really casts a bad light on the Overwatch scene as a whole, but it's not even just about your reputation. It's about the actual livelihoods of these players who have to suffer and go through all this to follow their dreams.
Yep. It's a mess.
Unfortunately, we'll just have to keep on following this story as it does develop. Strangely, mostly on Twitter, as it has been the past few days. This hasn't even been a week-long story. This has been probably, 3 days long? This entire debacle?
It's felt so much longer.
It's felt like a month. But
the whole thing is about 2 weeks.
The initial challenge.
Bits of it have been like 3 days.
Yeah.
Right.
Since about Saturday.
Yeah.
Or Sunday. Yeah.
So not only are there major changes going on in the contender scene in-game, we've also seen quite a few changes today with the new update. And of course, we do have Ash and, more importantly, Bob in the game finally. And I'm so excited. We also have a lot of the buffs that were coming in for Reaper, Roadhog, Mercy, Sim. So have any of you been able to play this yet? I've been pretty busy with the whole moving scenario, so I haven't been able to play a lot.
Yeah, I got to play about 30 minutes earlier. I played No Limits, so everyone was playing Ash, so it was pretty fun. But overall, I think, I haven't played like obviously a real match with her yet, so I don't really know how effective she'll be. But it seems like Dynamite is going to be potentially one of the best abilities in the game if you are good with it. Because if you throw it and don't move your mouse and just shoot at the right time, it will stay aimed on it. So like there's a way to use it at like a reasonably low skill cap. But otherwise, I think the most kind of refreshing change is the Roadhog change. It seems like he's going to be actually viable. Played with him, it felt really nice. The hook is just a lot better. You can't quite, like the old Roadhog, just get the hook and one-shot someone. It's not quite that good, but it's a lot more effective, and it's realistically only about 6 seconds until you get to use it again, because the cooldown starts instantly when you throw it now. Played a little bit of Reaper. Felt like it was maybe more effective. I was playing against a lot of Ashes, so it was also hard to like get close to them because they would knock me back. So that was also tough. But I can't speak much for Mercy or Symmetra. Watched some videos. Looked like it'll be better, but I'm not sure Mercy needed a buff personally. But that's just here nor there.
I am very cautious about the Mercy change. I feel like the support meta over the last couple of months has been the best it's ever been in Overwatch. At the very least, it's been the most diverse it's ever been in Overwatch. Maybe Mercy was on the lower side of that. She's the only support you can't really run in Goats for one, and maybe she was the least played of the older supports at the moment, but I don't feel like it was that drastic. That said, if they were going to buff her, I'm glad they've made this change where it's just a small thing to make her ult a little more effective. It's not putting her normal healing back up to 60, which suddenly nullifies Winston. I don't know. I am still not convinced that Mercy needed a change, but if they were going to make a change, I'm glad it's this one.
I agree, because putting her normal healing back to that is really annoying as a Winston player, because you just suddenly don't work. So yeah, I think the small change. I'm glad they're reaching that phase in the design of that hero and I guess Sim as well, where you just make little tweaks until you feel they're in a good spot. I agree that I'm not quite sure that she needed it. I mean, her pick rate has suffered, sure, but like oh no, she was very highly rated for a long time. I think she can take some time off. I've liked the support meta so far, but hey, we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, it was so nice that even when triple tank, triple support was being played in World Cup, you would see different variations. You would see a Moira on one side, a Zen on the other side. And as someone who casts the game, that makes it a lot more interesting and less painful to decipher when you are watching that game. But something that was kind of interesting to me to think about in terms of Ashe is I wonder if she is going to be the answer to that triple tank, triple support meta that we have been so used to with that dynamite ability, especially. Do you think that that's going to be the case, Scoopy?
I think at high skill tiers, yes. So I mean, if you theoretically hit all 6 players with dynamite, it's what 175 damage each. If you hit them over time, it's a ton. And that on 6 characters would not only give her ult incredibly quickly, but also, I mean, that just busts up their team. If you throw in an Ana grenade before that and multiply it, like that's an insane ability. So I think again, I'm a platinum player on a good day. When I throw dynamite, there's not really a good chance I'm going to hit it ever, even if I just try and shoot it right away. So at lower skill levels, I think it's going to be not quite as much of a counter, but I think higher tiers maybe. I don't know.
I think an Ana nade is actually a good comparison here because Ana nades it's definitely not a guaranteed hit, and you'd see it. Not every team can successfully run Ana goats where you're landing these nades consistently, but the teams that do, it makes a huge impact, to capitalize, get that value off the underheal. And I feel like we're going to see a similar situation with Ashe, where not everyone's going to have the skill of Ashe to consistently hit these skill shot dynamite throws, but the teams that are going to be able to get so much value out of it. I feel like that is a good analogy.
I think you'll see players from and this might be reaching, but I think you'll see players from the TF2 scene who came over from there to Overwatch have a lot of success using her shotgun. I don't know the name of it. Using that to jump and then throw dynamite and shoot it. I think they're just gonna be a lot more familiar with that kind of mechanic, that just quick move and flick. You can see, I mean, Siegel is, you might see in his streams him do a really good job. Clockwork's gone too. I don't know a ton of others. Muma's main tank, so no, but that I can see that mechanic crossing over. But
it's almost reminiscent of Junkrat mechanics, kind of, but actually taking skill.
It's true.
Wait, Junkrat and taking skill, you can...
No, this is a version of Junkrat mechanics that actually take skill now, Fibble.
I just didn't even know that those words could be put together at the same time.
Junkrat is all skill.
You also thought the USA would beat the UK, so...
Yeah, well,
So Fibble, you love TF2. Do you agree with that assessment that some former players will see some familiarity and might be more prone to choose Ashe? Vowels, behave.
Katrina had a great comeback and you killed it.
I want to hear it.
No, it's too late now. It's far too late now.
I'm sorry, but I'm trying to keep the peace between you two for tonight.
I'll be the bigger man. It's fine. Don't worry about it. I agree. I think that it's very reminiscent of the force of nature, which we're not supposed to make comparisons to, but I did anyways. I like the mechanic a lot. I think more than anything, it will favor players who understand the importance of mobility and positioning. Because if you use it to establish high ground control or flush out a sniper or anything like that, you can play her in a lot more comps than you think. Because many comps limit their DPS to those heroes' ability to reach the high ground. When you're playing dive, you don't want to play McCree because he's just going to sit in the back over there popping shots. Ashe has the same sort of play style, I guess, but can also launch herself up on ledges and flush people out and do all sorts of cool stuff. So she's establishing an interesting niche for herself.
Yeah.
And I am interested to see how that goes.
One of the most interesting, there's two comps that would incorporate Ashe that I'm very interested to see. The first one would be a double sniper look, but if you replaced a Widowmaker with Ashe, sure, you've got slightly less pick potential. You don't have the Widow one-shot, headshot, whatever. But Ashe still does a significant amount of damage anyway, and you're introducing so much more mobility. You've got the extra utility from the dynamite. You've got Bob as well, who you're going to lose information from Insight, sure, but I feel like it's going to be more impactful in the actual middle of a team fight. And maybe in the same way as Dragon Strike used a zone as well. The other one I'm interested in, the more recent rise we've seen of dive compositions that pair a Brigitte with a McCree or Soldier on the DPS role. If you suddenly incorporate Ashe into that, it's a similar skill set to McCree, similar damage output, but again, it's the extra utility. You've got the mobility to escape yourself. I'm very interested to see how Ashe is incorporated into those style of compositions, or if we see something just completely new involving her.
Yes, I'm definitely interested to see the DPS compositions alongside Ashe. I know we've been seeing even theories of quadruple sniper if you include Ana, so your Hanzo, Widow, Ashe, Ana. But I think that it'll be curious to see whether Ashe is paired with Sombra quite a bit, because you will not have that information, as you were saying earlier, from that infrared sight. So if you do have that scouting ability from that Sombra, maybe an EMP in combination with Bob could be quite effective, not only in zoning, but actual damage, because, oh gosh, can you imagine a nano boosted Bob with an EMP?
Yeah. Or even like a grab. I mean, there's just a lot of different. I'll be interested to see how Bob meshes with other ultimates, because I think the zoning ultimate idea is a really good point. I mean, he takes out he has a really wide shooting radius. Like, it goes really far. So, yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see how it's used for sure.
And
I think we're going to get Thibble back in here.
Yeah, unfortunately, Thibble is having. There he is. Oh, hello. Oh, you poor thing.
Nice.
I'm sure I've just ruined the video or whatever, but yeah, I am a.
Oh no.
Oh shoot.
Only you see, it's I get it. Vowels felt he was losing the banter war, so he had to DOS me. People are just right. I get it. So
now Fibble's just scared of me. That's what it is. That's just some image he's pulled up, downloaded off the internet, so he's got an excuse to leave.
Right. I've loaded a JPEG of a blue screen. It's just MS Paint. It's just paint. You can see it stretched out even. Yeah, man, I didn't even do that good job. My bad. It's okay. I'm just
never do a good job.
I signed Jester jersey. I'm just gonna hang out, and be cool. So
wow.
Vowels, you're on like 3 strikes now, okay?
Are we doing a strike system?
Katrina, you specifically told me before the podcast to bring the spice.
I said, like, bring some like salt and pepper, not like.
Don't act nice now, Katrina.
I guess it's white.
The puppet master.
Whatever.
Instructions.
But anyway,
I brought a ghost pepper.
Oh God. Oops. But as we do, I didn't do anything. But no, Bob is my favorite part of Ashe's kit, and he can do anything in my mind. I think Bob is my new favorite hero. But I think it's time for us to kind of brainstorm, what can Bob do and what can Bob not do? So let's start by brainstorming different things that Bob could probably do, either in Overwatch or in real life. So let's see. So
if I could say one thing I think Bob could likely do, Bob seems like he's a man of little words, but just takes action. He just does maybe the right thing. Someone who maybe his superior, who has more wisdom in the situation, is telling him to do. Ashe is kind of the tactician, telling him what to do. So I think a person like that could run a social media account for a contenders level team really effectively.
I think that's a really good idea.
I think that could work. I think Bob Esports could be a great contenders team. Now, just spitballing.
I think the strongest point of that is that we've found out that it doesn't take much to run a social media account. You don't need to be very smart or funny or good at it to do it, but Bob is all of those things.
Bob's a high standard. Bob's a high bar
person who I respect greatly. He's from a very prestigious profession. What was it? He graduated from a top 20 university. Bob's a smart guy. He could run a social media account for sure.
For sure.
Yeah. Good idea.
And I mean, what I've learned from listening to Bob's Spotify playlist as well, another plug for that, by the way, is Bob just likes to have a good time. He likes ragtime. He just likes to hang out with some friends and a tuba and a harmonica and just hang out. He's just, sometimes Bob doesn't want to do something. Sometimes Bob just wants to relax. And I think running a team, maybe you have some times where you're not doing something on Twitter all the time. You just take the foot off the pedal a little bit. So just an idea.
There were those weird tweets about nationalism, though. I think Bob could probably cut back on that just a little bit. Like,
I don't think Bob seems like he's a nationalist. But that's a real world. You guys probably have more ideas for in the game what Bob could do, right? What do you guys think?
I feel like Bob has the potential to embrace the iris with Zenyatta and establish his own yoga studio. I think Bob is a real example of inner peace, dedication, love. And I would so like go to the gym if it meant that Bob would be the yoga instructor.
Yeah.
Like maybe he's not super flex. I don't know where I'm going with this, but yeah.
Did you see how limber he was though? He can take his entire head off.
Oh,
Or maybe
that's true.
I don't. Maybe not.
And he could do hot yoga because he clearly can work up a sweat. You know, he's got the
oil.
the oil, the traditional oil sweat.
Great hot yoga partner.
Yeah.
Taking a long time.
Oh my gosh, Vowels, what do you think Bob could do, either in real life or in game? That we're just underestimating him.
I just want to highlight something Bob has already achieved. Bob has meant we now have someone in Overwatch who has a bigger head than Fibble, and specifically a bigger forehead to the Goopy. Sorry, I had to spend a
That seemed a lot more personal than the other ones. Oh. I don't know what you're talking about.
But,
What did I do to you?
This is a really small forehead. Oh.
Oh my!
I'm never getting invited back to this podcast, am I?
No. God.
Well, it was nice to know you guys. Have a good.
Get out of the screen. I'll just take it off the screen. I don't want everyone to have to look at this. 5 head.
Fibble, your turn. What can Bob do?
Well, I'll tell you one thing he can't do. He can't get me a media pass to BlizzCon. Boy, howdy. I don't know if anybody could have done that, except like us. I think here's something I think Bob could do. I think Bob could get Katrina a date.
Oh.
Hashtag get Katrina a date, by the way.
Oh gosh.
Bob's a matchmaker.
To all the men in Los Angeles. Yeah.
Bob would be a great wingman. Would go to Guildhall with you, buy himself a nice quart of oil, and get you a drink.
Mhm.
And then you guys could just hang out and like scout. You know, you could people watch.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, that guy looks interesting. He's gonna go play Betrayal at House on the Hill or some other board game that they have. You should go join them.
Oh my gosh, that's like a dream actually. Bob being my wingman. All right, I'm gonna take my shot here. To all the men in Los Angeles, I'm Katrina. I like long walks across the Mojave Wasteland. I stay on the payload. Well, in Fallout. And I have all of Lord of the Rings memorized. Hit me up. Not really. I don't know when. I'm single. Anyways,
this is a great episode of the WatchHaus. This is good stuff.
Oh wait, Vowels.
Entertainment.
Where did Vowels go?
I don't know. After insulting my forehead.
You see me last week.
I knew he was gonna do that. I knew he was gonna do that. Oh my god.
Man.
Vowels.
What the heck?
What the heck?
Not unexpected at all.
I was trying my hardest to like sneak along without knocking my chair on my desk.
You scared the effing shoot out of me.
Wow, we're doing great.
Let it out.
So I'm definitely never being invited back.
Yeah. No, we've established that.
No, yeah.
I'm gonna get some water. Goopy, you take over for a little bit.
Wow. Okay. Now that's interesting. That's an interesting dynamic. We haven't done this before. I suppose I'll ask the opposite question. What can't Bob do, gentlemen?
Sign Australian players to the Overwatch League.
That's fair. Not even Bob. Not even the power of Bob.
No one can.
Dang.
Not even Bob could predict that Denmark would get out of the qualifier over the UK.
Unbelievable, dude. Holy cow.
Not
even Bob.
You'd have to make some very questionable decisions to end up at that point in life. Not even Bob would be capable of that.
Not even Bob can value Denmark players for the gems that they are. Oh my gosh. This is
What can't
unbelievable.
Bob do? That's what we're at now, right?
That's where we're at, Katrina.
Okay. I needed a break.
I'm
I-
sorry, Katrina.
Can't sign
It's
Australian
okay.
players. What else can't he do?
You
What
can't
was one
appreciate the Danish talent that's out there for what it is.
Danish Overwatch talent.
Mhm.
I think Bob could protect me from men trying to shake my hand, but maybe.
Overly hard. Yeah. No, I think he would probably grab that person and just like snap their spine.
I don't want that. Anyways, what Bob couldn't do.
I think
We'll need someone to clip that, by the way. We'll need someone to clip that.
We've established that there's nothing Bob can't do. That's the important thing here.
I think that's what we've established.
I think so.
Yeah.
He's my true hero.
Bob is love. Bob is life.
Wow.
I am Bob, as Kikuri would say. But enough about everyone's favorite Bob. I mean, he is truly the best. Kind of going back, I've just moved to Los Angeles, and I need to figure out which teams to root for. So there's the Battle of LA. There's the Gladiators. There's the Valiant. And I don't really have a preference, but I feel like as a LA resident, I have to have one. Just kind of going around the table here, the imaginary table. Thibble, one word, Valiant or Glads, and we'll go into it later.
Gladiators.
Gladiators.
Because I have a free lanyard for you.
Oh,
So you can show off that you like them.
that's
having lanyard.
that's a convincing argument, actually. Goopy, Gladiators or Valiant?
Gladiators, easy.
All right, and Vowels, Gladiators or Valiant?
Wings out, baby!
I knew
Valiant
you'd
all the way.
disagree. All right, so I'm still. I mean, the lanyards kind of got me leaning towards the Gladiators, but Vowels. Why should I root? Why should I root for the Valiant?
Well, first off, you have Space and KSF, who used to play for my favorite team in Overwatch history, the best name in Overwatch history. You guys get paid?
Yeah. Oh, that's a thrill.
I know. Yeah, I knew you'd appreciate that. I think they were the first Overwatch team I would have actively called myself a fan of. Some of the best logos in Overwatch history, and they're finally getting paid. You've got to appreciate it. You have, I would say, the most successful mixed roster in Overwatch history. Any team that you would say had more success than Valiant would either be a full Korean roster or a full Western roster. Maybe the only exception is
Philly?
Well, I'd still say Philly were really good towards the end of the season. I say overall Valiant had a better season, but that is changeable. The only roster I'd maybe say you could put an argument is with Envious, but when they had Effect, but I wouldn't truly call that mixed. I don't know. There's maybe an argument there, but it's as much as it pains me to say as a Bears fan, as much as I hate the Packers, it's one of the best color schemes I think in the league. Nice green and gold, not unimaginative, just using black or white as one of your secondary colors like all those losers over there. You have players with actual personality rather than Mr. Scherfel. I grew up in the internet.
Come on, but he does the thing where he leans back in his chair. That's pretty cool.
Hilarious.
And
you have Fisher or Mr. Fisher. I am the best main tank. Look at me, hard carry. I am the best main tank.
Talk about
You have players who are actually nice people. We won what? I think the Gladiators won 1 out of 5 battles for LA. So whose city really is it? You have some of the best memes. Nothing the Gladiators have ever done can compare to In and Out. Need I go on?
So I'm going to cut you off right there. Thibble has been trying to tell me something real quick.
Just some history. We were talking about you guys, which I agree was a fantastic team, made great by their logo, which I have faithfully recreated here on this post-it. It's literally just a sign and a question mark. That's what made that team so good. That was their logo. You guys get paid? That's their
epic.
logo, right?
Pretty
It
good.
was awesome. We loved it. team came out. Everybody.
I think the only team name that I've ever thought was better than You Guys Get Paid was way back in the very first Open Division in Europe. There was a team called You Guys Get Laid, which it got to pay tribute to a classic. They didn't actually go anywhere, but that people
was
who
not
know.
on that.
Yep. All right, Katrina, but here's the deal. Here's the real
All right,
deal.
I'm ready.
The Gladiators. All right, so Vowels wants to say that the Valiant has like nicer players or more personality, but how can you get more personality than Bishu and Big Goose?
Oh,
Big Goose,
Bishu.
greatest hair in the league, and he just looks like he's a train wreck, but you know he's not, and he's great for it. Bishu's one of the nicest human beings in the league, you would think, and he just is incredible. His translating mid-match, he's also incredibly good. Hydration is just like silent, killer. Doesn't say words, but plays the game really well, and so that's awesome. And then Surefour, how can you? I mean, sure, he's kind of a goob, but he's just a classic Overwatch. I didn't come into Overwatch super early, and like Surefour is one of those first names that like came up for me. It was like Surefour and Internet Hulk and all those guys. So.
Classic Overwatch fan, a straight white male who hasn't been outside in 5 years.
Wow.
And
we're not talking about you, Vowels. Come on, chill out.
Not straight.
And you have Roar and Decay on the Gladiators, the Fangs, the Lion and the Claws. What a great marketing push for Roar and Decay, who have joined us, Kongdu Panthera. Like, Gladiators are looking pretty good with Fisher all the way wherever the heck he is.
Yeah.
I was a Fisher fan. Well, still am. I know that might be a little controversial to some of you, but now that he's with Seoul, who is my number one team, I can say confidently, oh, this is hard. Space is just such, and Custa, Space, that, but then on the other side, you do have Bishu.
Bishu and Big Goose.
And Big Goose.
The
and
Goose
Shaz.
is loose.
The goose is loose. So I'm gonna have to keep thinking, and I'll try by next week. Next week, I will make my decision.
Good.
I see the gear. Oh, that is a nice lanyard. But I'm not that type of person.
Swayed by a lanyard, just total consumerist. Okay. Jeez.
Men of LA. No, never mind. But what the heck has this night been?
You said Men of LA too many times.
It's not too. Turn it off. Like, what's going on? Help me, please.
I need to go for the hard.
I think I'm just going to do it.
So while Thibble comes up with some more solutions, let's start wrapping up our night. I know we've talked a bit about some Overwatch. Let's talk a little bit about some of our favorite topics ourselves. I know that all of us liking to talk on camera kind of do like to talk about that. So I propose that we play a game called Two Truths and a Lie, just so our viewers at home can get to know all of us, and of course the lovely Vowels, who may or may not be returning to this show after he scared the living daylights out of me.
Yep. You're gone.
So how about what we do is
I'm here for a good time, not a long time.
That's totally fair. Actually, I respect that.
So, Goofy, do you want to go? Are you okay with going first for Two Truths and a Lie?
I think so. I think I can. Yeah, I can pull this together.
You all right? All right. And you and Chat can also participate.
Okay. So, 1, 2, and 3 here. Number 1. I thought I was from California for the first 15 years of my life. Genuinely thought I was born there. Number 2, my glasses are fake. They're just for aesthetics because I like them. Number 3, I was at one time in the top 25 in the United States at Pokemon. Those are my 3. Which is the lie?
Chat, what's the lie? 1, 2, or 3? I am.
The lie.
Computer back up. I'm going to try and rejoin you guys from there.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Sounds good.
All right. Let's wait for Thibble to. Yay! He's back.
What up?
That was quick and painless. Except it wasn't. So I think the first one's a lie.
California?
Rob thinks number 2 is a lie. I don't have chat up. I don't know.
I think, that's tricky. I'm going to say number 3, the Pokemon one, is a lot. Even though I do have a lot of faith in you. Oh, that's tricky.
Wow, ouch.
No.
What do
I feel
Vowels
like Vowels. What do you think?
I Goopy, take your glasses off again. This is important.
Oh, he's got the tan. He's got a glasses tan. I don't know.
Who knows? Also, the fourth option would have been biggest forehead in my family,
Okay,
so that was
nicest thing I'm going to say all evening. Goopy, it's not like you're a bad-looking dude without glasses, so it's not like you're going to put them on to try and mask anything or whatever. So as much as it pains me, I've got to agree with Fibble. I think one was a lie.
All right. Well,
Rob is adamant over here in the background, by the way. He swears it's 2. We'll see. What is it?
Well, Rob is correct. 2 is the lie.
No way!
Real glasses. I thought I was from California for 15 years, and I was top 25 in Pokemon VGC back in 2010.
How do you do that? How does nobody tell you you're not from California? And where are you?
It was actually really cruel. I was just like, it's a long story, so I won't get into it now, but it was basically like I would ask my grandma, like, hey, was I born in California? And I had a friend with me, and she was like, oh, sure, you guys are being kids. And I ran with it and told all the friends at school I was this cool California kid for a while. Then it all came crashing down. Rip.
Oh.
So here I am. That's it. That's mine.
All right. Well, Vowels, do you have 2 truths and a lie ready?
I think so.
Do you need more time? It's okay if you do.
I'm gonna pass on for one more round. I'm trying to think what
All
my
right.
thing is.
That's fine. Thibble, are you ready?
I think so.
All right.
Okay. So 1, 2, and 3, right? I just list them?
Yep.
Okay. So I have broken 7 bones and been hit by a car 4 times. That's number 1. Number 2, I've never watched an episode of Friends. And number 3, God, don't know if I had a third. Number 3, I've driven over 10,000 miles this year.
I believe the 10,000 miles one, just because you've been driving like a madman.
Is it driving or traveled in general? Because I know trains have been a part of
driving specifically. I haven't.
Okay.
I've only taken the train once this year.
Okay.
I feel like, how do you get hit by a car 4 times? Don't you learn after the
that
first?
That one was oddly specific.
It's
They
not
could
about
have
learning.
fudged the numbers on that one. You know what I mean?
Or is it?
I have way too much faith in your intelligence for that.
I'm gonna say 1.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say the car one. I'm gonna say you fudged those numbers.
Our producer Rob thinks that it's number 2 for sure. Vowels. 1, 2, or 3 for Thibble.
I'm gonna say it's number 2 as well.
All right. What is it, Thibble?
Wait, so who thinks it's 2?
Robin Vowels.
Okay. I have never watched an episode of Friends.
Really?
That is. And I have been hit by a car 4 times. I swear. I have not driven 10,000 miles yet. I am about to cross that when I go to.
Told us that story, guys. He told us that story.
You guys
But
have
4 times?
4 times. And each one was stupider than the last and not in my control at all. Yeah, and I have broken 7 bones. Not 7 unique bones. I have broken my left wrist 4 times, my pinky once, and both of my right arm bones.
Oh.
Wow. Wowie.
Yeah, an interesting life I have led. Well-traveled, but not that well-traveled. I'll probably cross 10K next week for Thanksgiving. But right now I'm sitting just underneath it because I started the year with mileage on the car that I normally use at about 115K, and I just crossed 124.
Wow.
So there you go.
Nice.
I have a lot, but not that much yet. Yeah.
All right. Vowels, you got it yet?
I spent 6 years of my childhood in Germany. I I was expelled from secondary school, middle school, high school equivalent twice for getting into fights. And what was my last one? Shit, I had a good last one and I've forgotten it. One of the first people to call me Vowels was my sixth form or end of high school equivalent maths teacher. So I spent 6 years of my childhood in Germany. I got expelled from school twice for fighting, and one of the first people to call me Vowels was one of my high school math teachers. Which is
I'm gonna say the Germany one's true, because I just think of like being mean when I think of Germany, and you are mean sometimes, Vals. You have 6 years worth of mean in you.
I'm gonna say number 2 is a lie, because it strikes me that you were the kid who just got like beat up, not the kid who would try and fight.
Oh my God.
Do you know how tall that man is?
Little did we know this was just an opportunity to take shots at Vals.
I'm 6'2".
All right, I'm going to say number 2 as well, because you got expelled for different reasons: spray painting and general debauchery.
Yeah, just being a hooligan after spending 6 years in Germany.
Yeah, all that pent up.
I think I do know this one, so I'm not going to say, but our producer Rob does say that it is number 3.
No, Katrina, I'm not sure if you do, I'll be honest.
Really?
What do you think it is?
I thought that it was number 1 was the lie. Really?
No,
I don't know you.
I moved to Germany just before I turned 3 and moved back when I was 8, so that's near enough 6 years.
Oh.
One of the first people to call me Vowels was Mr. Richards, my high school maths teacher. I was only expelled once for fighting.
Oh,
that's
there we go.
Key point. Yeah,
twice. And Fibble, you
on.
are kind of right in that I lost most of the fights I was in, but I was always the one who started them. So
I've been there.
Not surprising, Vowels.
I played a lot of hockey. You know, you just get into it sometimes. It doesn't matter that you're.
For me, it was rugby, but yeah, close enough.
Yeah, what's the difference?
That's what you get when you call people's foreheads big. You get into fights.
All right.
Well, now we know.
Good to know, Vals. Good to know.
Is it Katrina's turn now?
It is.
Here we go. I was a chess finalist in a state championship at the age of 12. I have all of the presidents memorized forwards and backwards. And I have been in a professional opera.
I'll say number 3.
Weirdly specific list of things.
Yeah. I'll say 3 is a lie, because you've been in a semi-professional opera, never a professional opera.
Ooh, dang.
Burn.
So chess finalist. The second one was
I've got the presidents memorized forwards and backwards.
president. Good Lord. And opera. I'm going to say presidents, because who the hell has the memorized front and back? I'm going to say 2 is a lie.
All right,
but
Vowels.
I wouldn't be surprised if it was true.
I can believe in your singing ability. Not asking for a demonstration. So
No, I'm not giving one.
I'm going to believe the opera thing. I know all the kings of England in order, so I'm not going to question the president's one. I'm going to say the chess champion one, with the caveat that it was before you were a chess champion before the 12th grade.
All right.
And Rob is saying 3. He's saying that you were not in an opera.
Yeah.
I have been in a professional opera, even though I am trained in opera. Fun fact, I was a supernumerary at the Lyric Opera of Chicago for a run of The Marriage of Figaro. I was a daughter of one of the cast members, so I didn't sing in that one, and I was quite young, but it was still a regular thing that I would be at all the time. So that was pretty awesome.
Nice.
I do have the presidents memorized forwards and backwards. When I was 5, I was obsessed with them. I wanted to be president. So I thought that the best way to qualify myself, other than talking about Al Gore to my kindergarten class,
was to know them all.
Was to know them all, like just know everything.
Like
so I would stay up late at night and just I had so many. But yeah, and if you told me a number, I could tell you which president it was. I don't think I can.
17.
27. That's before Woodrow Wilson. That is Warren. Is that Warren Harding? No, that's 29. That's 29. Fuck, who's 27? 25th is William. Oh!
And there we go.
It's William Howard Taft, dummy.
Yeah, because 25 is McKinley, 26 is Roosevelt, then William Howard Taft.
What about 17?
17? Oh my God, that's Andrew Johnson. But anyways, as we do move forward, sorry, I did play a lot of chess, but I was never in any competition like that. So we have, oh God, I can't believe I swore.
I can.
It's very believable. Very believable.
Well,
but that's fair.
We are unfortunately out. Oh my God, I'm so bad. Out of time. Cut the VOD. Cut the VOD. But thank you again to Vowels. For me, at least, it's a total joy to have you on the show. I can only speak for myself.
It was an experience.
But we love you. I love you. And thank you all who watched at home. It was so much fun to kind of have a more lighthearted show for once after all of this drama. And yeah, I once again can't wait to see you next week. We'll have a lot of great news for you, hopefully. And we'll figure out if I'll be a Valiant or a Gladiators fan. So a lot to look forward to. Can't wait to see you all next week. Good night.
Bye.
Bye.